She laughed, not politely, but freely, like she hadn't in years. Candlelight glinted off the metal of her wheelchair, and I froze mid-apology. Then she smiled and said, "You've already made my night more interesting." I didn't know it yet, but I just sat at the wrong table and met the right person. The restaurant shimmered with gold light, the kind that made polished silverware glow and reflections dance across the tall windows. Ryan Torres stood just inside the entrance, tugging at the cuff of his gray shirt as if a sharper fold might make him belong. The air smelled faintly of lemon and butter, refined, expensive, and he caught his reflection in the mirrored column by the host's stand. 31, grease stains still faint on his knuckles despite the scrubbing, boots a shade too worn for this kind of place. His sister's text glowed on his phone, table by the window. Woman in blue. He scanned the rows of tables, careful not to look too lost. Then he saw her, a woman in a deep blue dress, hair like soft gold spilling over her shoulders, sitting alone by the window. The dress shimmered faintly when she moved. He hesitated when his eyes caught the glint of a wheelchair beside her. His sister hadn't mentioned that. For a moment, he stood frozen, unsure if walking over would be kind or clumsy. But she was glancing toward the door, checking her watch, clearly waiting for someone. "Don't overthink it," he told himself. "You're already out of place. Just be decent." He walked over, trying not to trip on the expensive silence. "Hi," he said, his voice a little rough from nerves. "I'm Ryan. Are you waiting for someone?" She looked up, startled at first, then smiled. A real, bright smile that met her eyes. "I am actually. Are you supposed to be meeting someone here too?" "Yeah. My sister set me up on a blind date. Told me to look for a woman in blue by the window. So I figured." He gestured awkwardly toward her table. The smile faltered, but only for a second. "Oh, I think there's been a mix-up," she said gently. "I'm not on a blind date. I'm waiting for my father. He's always late." Color rose in Ryan's cheeks. "Oh, wow. I'm so sorry. That's, my mistake. I should probably." But she laughed, light and warm. "No, please, don't apologize. This is actually the most interesting thing that's happened to me in weeks." She extended her hand. "I'm Anna. Anna Lawrence." He shook it, relieved she wasn't offended. "Ryan Torres." Her eyes glimmered with quiet amusement. "Well, Ryan Torres, since my father will be at least 20 minutes late, and your mystery date hasn't shown up, why don't you sit? I could use the company. Besides, it's not every day someone mistakes me for their date. Seems a shame to waste it." Ryan chuckled, scratching his neck. "You sure? Wouldn't want to intrude." "Trust me," she said, gesturing to the empty chair. "You'd be rescuing me from a very dull evening." Something about her tone, the mix of humor and invitation, made the tension in his shoulders ease. He sat down. The hum of the restaurant faded into a softer rhythm, and for the first time all evening, Ryan felt he might not be completely out of place after all. Ryan hadn't expected the conversation to come so easily. Usually, he stumbled over words in places like this, too aware of every fork and wine glass, too conscious of how little he belonged. But Anna's voice carried warmth that smoothed the edges of the moment. "So, Ryan Torres," she said, smiling over her menu. "What does a man brave enough for a blind date like this do for a living?" He laughed quietly. "I fix things. Cars mostly. Own a small auto repair shop over on Maple Street." "Own?" she repeated, impressed. "That's not small. That's independence." He shrugged. "Mostly it's long hours, busted bolts, and grease under the nails. But I like seeing something broken leave my shop whole again." Anna tilted her head, her eyes bright. "That sounds a lot like coding. Different tools, same satisfaction." Ryan blinked. "You code?" She grinned. "Software development. I build systems for small businesses. My dad still calls it a hobby." Ryan frowned. "Because you work from home?" "Exactly. He thinks real work comes with suits and conference calls." She paused, fingers tracing the rim of her glass. "But I like what I do. I like solving puzzles. I just wish he'd see that it's not something to keep me busy. It's something I'm good at." Ryan nodded, leaning forward. "Then he's wrong. You talk about your work like someone who owns it. Doesn't sound like a hobby to me." Her expression softened, touched by the sincerity. That's the first time anyone said that without the sympathy voice. "What's that?" "You know, the tone people use when they want to sound encouraging but mostly feel sorry for me." She gestured lightly toward her wheelchair. Most people don't know how to talk to me without pretending they don't see it. I see it, Ryan said simply. I just don't think it's the most important thing in the room. For a moment, silence hovered, not awkward, but full, steady. Then Anna laughed again, softer this time. You're surprisingly good company for someone who walked into the wrong date. Guess that makes two of us lucky, he said. They talked until the candles melted low, their laughter drawing curious glances from nearby tables. Somewhere between stories about Ryan's first disastrous week running his shop and Anna's tales of debugging at 2 a.m., the awkwardness of the mix-up vanished. When Anna's phone buzzed with a message, she glanced at the screen and smiled faintly. That'll be my father. He's just pulling up. Ryan felt a flicker of disappointment he didn't expect. Guess my time's up, huh? Not yet, she said, eyes gleaming with mischief. He's always late from the valet. You've got 2 more minutes of borrowed time. He chuckled, realizing that, for the first time all night, he didn't want the real date, or the real world, to begin again. Anna's phone vibrated once more before she could slip it away. She sighed lightly, reading the message. He's here, she said, tone caught between affection and resignation. Prepare yourself. My father likes to make an entrance. Ryan barely had time to smile before a man in a tailored navy suit appeared at the edge of their table. His presence drew attention the way expensive cologne did, strong, unavoidable, and carefully measured. Anna, darling, the man said, leaning down to kiss her cheek. I'm sorry I'm late. Then his gaze shifted toward Ryan, pausing just long enough to say everything he didn't. Anna's eyes sparkled mischievously. Dad, this is Ryan Torres. He sat at my table by mistake, a blind date mishap. We've been keeping each other company. Robert Lawrence's expression flickered with a polite, almost imperceptible frown. A blind date, I see. He extended a hand, firm and practiced. Robert Lawrence. Ryan, he said, shaking it without flinching. I run Torres Auto Repair. How interesting, Robert said, his tone suggesting it wasn't. His eyes briefly flicked to Ryan's shirt, neat but plain, and back again. Anna, your usual table is ready in the private dining room. Shall we? Ryan pushed his chair back slightly, ready to stand. I'll let you two enjoy your dinner. But Anna stopped him with a grin that carried quiet defiance. Actually, Dad, Ryan's date seems to have stood him up. I thought maybe he could join us. He's been wonderful company. Ryan's instinct was to refuse, to avoid making a scene, but something in Anna's expression, half playfulness, half determination, held him there. I wouldn't want to intrude, he said. You're not intruding if I'm inviting you, Anna replied firmly. Please, unless you'd rather escape my father's interrogation. Robert cleared his throat softly. Of course, he said with the thin civility of a man who rarely heard the word no. The more, the merrier. As they followed the host toward the private room, Ryan caught Anna's glance, a small, amused smile that seemed to whisper, just play along. The private dining space gleamed with muted luxury, mahogany paneling, soft lighting, a view of the skyline. Ryan sat opposite Robert, aware of the unspoken test in every glance. So, Mr. Torres, Robert began after the menus arrived. You said you own an auto shop. That must be steady work. Ryan smiled. It keeps me busy. People always need their cars fixed. Robert nodded slowly, as though assessing a used vehicle. And you've managed to make a business of it. Admirable, considering how competitive manual trades can be. Anna rolled her eyes. Dad, it's fine, Ryan said calmly. Manual trades are where most of the real problems get solved. I like that part. For the first time, Robert hesitated. Maybe not approval, but acknowledgement. Anna hid a smile behind her glass. The air between them softened, not quite friendly yet, but alive with something new. Challenge, curiosity, and the faint spark of mutual respect just waiting for its proof. Dinner unfolded with a quiet tension that shimmered beneath the polished manners. The server poured wine into crystal glasses, and Robert's conversation flowed like an interview. So, Mr. Torres, he began, how does one go from turning wrenches to running a business? Ryan met the question with an easy calm that surprised even himself. I worked under a mechanic for 8 years. Learned the trade, saved every dollar I could, then bought out the old shop when he retired. I've been running it ever since. Robert nodded, as though checking off a box. That takes persistence. Though I imagine business ownership can be difficult without a college degree. Anna's fork froze midair. Dad, Ryan smiled, refusing to take the bait. Sure, but fixing things isn't just about school. It's about patience, problem solving, and knowing when not to force the wrong bolt. Anna laughed, grateful for his composure. You sound like a philosopher disguised as a mechanic. Occupational hazard, Ryan said with a grin. Robert, clearly unused to being outmaneuvered with grace, adjusted his cufflinks and changed the subject to stocks, markets, and travel. Through it all, Ryan listened politely, contributing where he could, never pretending to know what he didn't. There was an authenticity in that restraint that Anna found refreshing, and Robert, though reluctant, couldn't quite ignore. When the server cleared the plates, Robert excused himself for a phone call. The moment the door closed, Anna exhaled. I'm so sorry. He can be intense. He loves you, Ryan said simply. And maybe he's just scared. Parents sometimes try to protect by controlling. She tilted her head, touched by the unexpected empathy. He still thinks I need someone to take care of me, that I can't handle life on my own. Ryan leaned forward, his voice low and steady. He's wrong about that. Her eyes softened. You don't even know me. I know enough, he said. You're sharp, independent, and not afraid to laugh at yourself. You don't need someone to take care of you. You just need someone who respects that. Anna blinked, her throat tightening at the simplicity of it. No one had ever said it so plainly, without pity or pretense. That's exactly what I've been trying to make him understand, she whispered. When Robert returned, his tone was even stiffer than before, but something in Anna had shifted. She carried herself taller, her laughter freer. And when Ryan pushed her chair gently forward to leave, she caught his gaze and smiled, not as a stranger anymore, but as someone who'd been seen clearly, maybe for the first time in years. As they stood outside the restaurant, Robert fetched the car. Ryan hesitated. I'd like to see you again, he said softly. Not out of kindness, just because I want to. Anna's answering smile glowed in the city lights. I'd like that too. But fair warning, my father's going to make this difficult. I didn't come looking for easy, Ryan said. Just real. And for the first time in a long time, Anna felt something real unfolding. The weeks that followed unfolded quietly, but with a steady pulse of connection neither of them expected. Their first official date wasn't in an expensive restaurant or sleek cafe. It was at Ryan's auto shop on a Saturday afternoon. Anna rolled in through the open bay doors, sunlight catching the chrome of a half-finished Chevy. The smell of oil, metal, and fresh paint filled the air. This is your empire? She teased, wheeling closer as Ryan wiped his hands on a rag. Not much of an empire, he said, smiling. But it's honest work. Everything here runs because I keep it that way. Anna looked around, her gaze soft but admiring. I like it. It's real. Most people build things you can't touch, meetings, reports, promises. But you fix things people need. Ryan leaned against the workbench, watching her with quiet respect. You build things too. You just use code instead of steel. She laughed. My kind of steel is just hidden in lines of logic. Their conversations deepened in those small, ordinary places. Over takeout boxes balanced on tool chests, over cups of coffee that went cold because they couldn't stop talking. Ryan learned about her accident, about the day everything changed but her determination didn't. Anna learned about the years Ryan spent saving every dollar to buy the shop, about the mother who taught him never to measure worth by titles. And through those stories, something solid grew. When Ryan's truck broke down one night, Anna showed up with her laptop, insisting she'd keep him company while he worked. I'm not letting you curse alone, she said, smirking. Pretty sure there's a law against beautiful women hanging around grease pits after dark, Ryan replied, half joking. Then arrest me, she shot back. Moments like that became their rhythm, light teasing layered over deep trust. Ryan stopped seeing the wheelchair. He just saw Anna, clever, sarcastic, full of life. And Anna stopped feeling like she had to prove her independence. Ryan never treated her like a fragile thing. Yet outside their small world, Robert's skepticism lingered. He never said it outright, but Anna could hear it in the careful questions. Is Ryan really stable? Can someone from that world understand ours? Still, Ryan never faltered. Every visit, every dinner, every quiet Sunday morning, he showed up, patient, consistent, unshaken by doubt. And though Robert didn't see it yet, Anna did. This wasn't a charity or a fantasy. It was something true. Two lives meeting at the crossroads of courage and ordinary grace. The storm rolled in without warning. a sudden wall of rain that turned the streets into rivers and the gutters into whirlpools. Ryan was at his shop when the roof began to leak, the lights flickering as thunder cracked overhead. Within minutes, water was pooling across the concrete floor, swallowing the day's work in muddy waves. He worked frantically, dragging toolboxes to higher ground, throwing tarps over exposed engines. His phone buzzed nonstop, employees stranded, deliveries delayed, until one message stopped him cold. On my way. He barely had time to respond before Anna arrived, her van pulling up through the downpour. You shouldn't be out in this, he shouted as she maneuvered her wheelchair down the ramp, rain drenching her hair. Neither should you, she shot back. You can't fight a flood alone. Ryan wanted to argue, but she was already scanning the chaos, assessing with the calm precision of someone who thrived under pressure. Power still on? She asked. For now. Good. I can set up a system to track damage and assign cleanup tasks. Where's your laptop? He blinked at her, soaked, radiant, unstoppable, and pointed to the office. Within minutes, Anna had turned his small corner desk into a command post, typing with fierce focus. I'll coordinate the crew remotely, she said. We'll need pumps and fans by morning. I've already called a supplier who owes me a favor. By the time Robert Lawrence arrived, his luxury sedan splashing through the flooded lot, the scene looked like an organized operation. Employees followed Anna's directions over video calls. Ryan hauled equipment, and together they moved with effortless teamwork. Robert stood at the doorway, umbrella forgotten, watching his daughter command the chaos. He had never seen her like this, confident, decisive, utterly in control. For years, he believed she needed protection. Now he saw her protecting others. Ryan joined him, breathing hard, rain dripping from his jacket. She's incredible, he said simply. Always has been. Robert didn't respond right away. He just nodded, eyes lingering on Anna, her sleeves rolled, her hands flying over the keyboard. I've been treating her like she's broken, he murmured. But she isn't, is she? She never was, Ryan said gently. She just moves differently through the world. You just have to be willing to see it. When Anna finally looked up, her father's expression had softened, pride replacing the old fear. In that drenched, fluorescent-lit garage, something fundamental shifted between them. For the first time since her accident, Robert Lawrence didn't see a daughter to protect. He saw a woman leading, thriving, and a man beside her who truly understood why that mattered. A year passed quietly, marked not by grand gestures, but by the steady rhythm of shared days. Coffee at dawn before Ryan opened the shop, late-night calls when Anna wrestled with code, evenings spent fixing, laughing, building something far sturdier than either had expected. What began as a mistake had become a life. On the anniversary of the night they met, Ryan closed the shop early. He swept the concrete floor until it gleamed, then filled the space with candles, dozens of them, flickering between toolboxes and car lifts. Fresh flowers rested on a workbench beside a single velvet box. By the time Anna arrived, the garage looked almost magical, soft light bouncing off chrome and glass. She wheeled in, her eyes wide. Ryan, what is all this? He smiled, wiping nervous sweat from his palms. Just a place where plans go wrong and somehow turn out right. When he knelt, the movement felt instinctive, not a display, but a gesture of respect that put them at eye level, equals in every way that mattered. Anna, he said, voice trembling slightly. You taught me that life isn't about having everything fixed before it's beautiful. I sat at the wrong table that night and found the right person. I love you, not despite the wheels, not because of them, but because you're you. All of you. Will you marry me? Tears blurred her vision. For once, words failed her. She nodded, laughing through them. Yes. 1,000 times yes. When Robert walked her down the aisle 6 months later, his expression carried none of the guarded pride it once had. In his toast, he spoke not of protection or fear, but of gratitude. Ryan reminded me that disability changes circumstance, not character, he said. And my daughter reminded me that strength can look like grace. Together, they taught me to see clearly again. Ryan and Anna danced that night beneath a canopy of string lights, the same way they had first sat, side by side, eye to eye, the world finally catching up to the truth they'd always known. Sometimes the wrong table, the wrong start, the wrong night is exactly what leads us where we were meant to be. And as the candles burned low and laughter filled the air, Ryan glanced at Anna, her smile glowing in the light, and thought, I wouldn't change a single mistake that brought me here.